Welcome back, everybody. This is Two Guys and a Mic coming to you on this football Sunday after the Browns and Bengals games. So we're going to get into it right now. I'm Ron Pierce, your host.
And I'm Big Sean Davis, your co-host.
Listen. So first of all, I'm happy as hell the Browns won. We're 2-1. And this is something that I wanted to say, kind of left it out. Bro, for the first time since we went to Cincinnati,
right,
we leave above 500.
Right. And that was an epic night.
I can't believe it's been that long since we.
Right, that was 6 years ago. That was an epic night in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
When we pretty much went down there and took over their whole stadium. We pretty much took over the whole city of Cincinnati that day. They couldn't wait for us to leave.
There are pictures of me and you from Cincinnati all the way across the Ohio River into Covington, Kentucky. They do not ever want to see us in that area ever again. But you know, I'm happy. It's good that the Browns were able to pull that off. So let's just we might as well go ahead and jump into the game. I want to talk about the things that we thought going into the game before the game was played. Some of the things that we thought the Browns needed to do or what we wanted to see the Browns do. For me, it was Stefanski's game plan. How would he adjust coming from week 2 to week 3? Would he do the same stuff? Would he think that whatever he pulled out his ass on, game 2 was going to be effective enough for game 3? The energy of the team, the crispness, how they moved around and how they felt, or were they going to be complacent? You know what I mean? These things to me I was really, really focused on that. Unfortunately, I watched the CBS pregame, so I didn't even see the Browns pregame stuff because I was watching CBS instead of Fox. So I didn't pick up on the fact that it was going to be on Fox until almost 12:45. But I wanted to see, because I wanted to see what the players were looking like on the field. Were they kind of dancing around? Were they kind of locked in? Just wanted to see the energy of the team. And that kind of goes back to the coaching as well. And then, of course, I wanted to see if Baker was going to look like he looked in game 2, which is focused, on target, aggressive, or was he going to look like the Baker that we've been kind of, bothered with at times in the past, in the more recent past. So, I was concerned about those things. I was concerned about the defense because to me, they're pretty porous. They haven't tackled well. They haven't covered well. So I was concerned. So my actual keys to the game, though, was the running game, us not turning the ball over, of course, how OBJ played. I thought he played really great in game 2. I would like to have seen a follow-up of that in game 3, but I was looking for that. Also, the short passes. And defensively, I said missed tackles, forced turnovers, because that's something else we talked about in our last show, and what they were going to do in coverages. And then we'll get into how the game actually played out in a minute. But you go ahead. You tell me what your keys and your thoughts were pre-game.
Okay. My key, the main one, was protecting Baker against Washington's front four. I knew that was a strong point of their team. I think they have, 4 first-round picks on that line?
Listen, I think they have, if not 5, if not –
yeah, they might be 5.
Have 4, but I think they have 5. I mean, you got Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, Chase, Ryan Kerrigan.
There's one more I can't think of.
Ioannidis is the other guy.
Okay.
He got now Ioannidis and Chase ended up getting hurt in the game, but yeah, that front 4 is fierce, bro. And then when they switch out, it's crazier.
Exactly. Yeah, so that was my main thing that I was looking for. I also wanted to see how Stefanski was going to come back after that big win against Cincinnati. Was he going to stick to the same game plan where you pretty much focus on the run and then use play action off of the run, which is very successful? Also wanted to see how our linebacking core was going to play. And so those are like my 3 keys to the game.
Who are the
Yeah,
linebackers?
exactly. The no-name linebackers, except for Taki Taki. Shout out to Sione Taki Taki
My
and his
guy,
family.
Sione.
Go ahead and shout out Sione. But man, you were being real nice when you said that the defense was porous. That defense stinks. It's more than porous. I mean, Washington. I mean, who can you name on that offense? Besides, the only reason why we know Haskins and McLaurin because they went to Ohio State. That's the only reason why we know those. I don't
Well,
know
they got
anybody else.
McLaren. Listen, McLaren was actually lighting them cats up. To be honest with you,
He was.
McLaren was like
He was.
he was lighting them cats up. Them 2 or 3 times he got the rock, he was lighting them cats up, man. And he was literally a pressure away from getting a touchdown because he got pressured on that throw and he just threw it and it went out of bounds. But that was he was wide the heck open.
And who was the running back? McKissick? Like who? I literally have never heard of that guy.
Yeah, McKissick
before.
Yep.
Seriously, I've never heard of him.
You know what? Because I played Madden, I knew who he was.
Okay.
But I can't say that I know who he was because he's been so good in the league per se.
Right.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
you know what though? Like
I
the
know Nick
NFL
Chubb
is kind of
Nick Chubb is Chubb.
the NFL is going through a phase how the NBA is going through, and they really automated sports. You're getting an influx of new young talent. A lot of guys like undrafted free agents, things like that, or guys that have been around for a while, just now coming into their own. And a lot of these guys I'm really not familiar with. So it's good to, see some of these young guys I've never heard of, and get to know them and see how they progress, throughout their career, moving forward. But
the games are different now. It's not like you have mainstays. Like you knew where John Riggins was going to be at back in 85. You knew John Riggins was coming back next year. We knew Clay Matthews and Ozzie Newsome were coming back. Like we didn't. What you talking about? Bernie not going to be the quarterback next year.
Right.
Like that wasn't even a consideration for us. But now we live in a different time. You see Cam Newton in New England. You see Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. 5 years ago, nobody would have thought that. So that's one of the reasons why you're seeing a lot of influence. The game is different. It's a totally different game. It's a quicker paced game. And I think that's why we're seeing so many new names and so many and the injuries are
and
that also helps
a huge
too.
role in that. Injuries playing a huge role. The game is also more specialized, even though it's been specialized for some years now. That's nothing new. But when you said the injuries right there, that is a huge key. These guys are dropping like flies.
Yeah, especially now with the season being what it is, a lot of guys really haven't. I mean, I know they went to training camp or whatever, but they didn't have the long OTAs. They didn't have the preseason games where you get a chance to stretch out.
Right.
You get a chance to throw yourself in the ice tub. If you go to training camp and you don't really get hurt, you probably not spending no 20 minutes in no ice tub.
Yeah, well, that you just need
not
contact.
Like
Marcus Allen said something some years ago. When the NFL, with the new CBA, how they were trying to, lessen practice time, less contact during practice. And Marcus Allen said that's a bad thing because your body has to get used.
You got to
get
the contact. Used to them bruising, man.
Right. Your body has to get used to it. And that's why I think why you're saying, if not just this year, but just the past few years, you're seeing a rash of injuries. So I just don't think these guys are ready for the punishment like they used to be back in the day.
Yeah.
And not to sound all old school. I don't want to sound like the old fogey or anything like that, but I definitely think that the less contact and practice you have is definitely attributing to some of the injuries that are going on.
I don't necessarily think it helps. I think it can help. I think I understand the concept, but I agree with the fact that you do need to be contacted.
Right.
In order to, boxers spar. They don't go to less sparring. They spar. Right. They get punched. Now, do guys go for the knockout punches and all that stuff? Maybe not necessarily, but you still catching that jab. You still catching that hook. You know what I mean? So it's still something that makes you feel and understand that I'm getting this contact, and that helps you when you get to the point. So let's jump into the actual game. So again, one of my focuses was Baker Mayfield. Baker is for a for a better, a lesser phrase, I guess. I'm trying to say this, but I don't really mean it this specific way. Baker's very inconsistent.
Right.
I wanted to say something else, but I think inconsistent is probably just the best way to say that. So he'll have a decent game over here. He may even have a really good game over there. But there aren't really many connecting parts that put that where you got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 really good games from Baker Mayfield.
Right.
So I knew he had a really good game on Thursday, and he looked not what we saw on the like in terms of numbers, what we actually saw in the player that Baker Mayfield is. He looked fired up and ready to go. Like I was like, wow, okay, this is a guy I can hang my hat on right there. If that's the guy I'm gonna see all the time, then I want to see that. So I was hoping to see what I was gonna see after seeing that guy, him being inconsistent that way. I didn't see that guy today. I'm just gonna be honest. He was off. He was behind. He was over. I feel like he got a problem stepping up in the pocket too.
Yeah, he did some. He made some attempts too. I think
He
that
stepped around. I didn't see him step up. Like I step back, I take my 3-step or 5-step, and here comes the pressure, and you move, but you know that pocket is collapsing because there's a hole,
right.
and I'm just gonna step up and keep my face downfield. I don't see that. Now I see rollout. I'll see maybe I'll take off and run, but I don't see I'm steady gonna throw this thing downfield. I don't see
Yeah,
that.
stand in the pocket, move up, probe, and see what you can find. I get what you're saying. This is what I want to say. Like in the first quarter, the pressure was getting to him. You know, Chase Young, especially Montez Sweat, were just being disruptive the whole game.
Listen,
And I think that was throwing off the timing of the offense, period. And that's why we got off to that slow start. And then two, Washington went right down the field, with our defense being as porous as it is.
just
And like nobody seemed to be in rhythm. There was no synchronicity on the field at all, defensively, or offensively, especially in that first quarter.
but those are some of the things that we've talked about that we don't always do. We being the Browns, we don't always do that to people. Like we don't enforce our will to just disrupt, even if you don't get the sack, even if you didn't get the
Right.
tackle. We don't always do the things that disrupt the flow, the ebb and the flow of what these guys do.
And that's the difference between from what I see from Myles Garrett and what I saw from Montez Sweat today. Now, Myles Garrett made 2 really, really big plays today, 2 huge plays, but he wasn't disruptive the whole game. Like he made those 2 flash plays, and then you didn't hear from him kind of like in the middle of the game. You know what I'm saying? So Montez Sweat was constantly, putting pressure on Baker Mayfield, disrupting it. Also in the run game too. Even though Chubb had a great game, Montez Sweat's presence was felt during the whole game. And I don't get that from Myles Garrett for all 4 quarters.
Montez and Jonathan Allen.
Yeah.
He was like, it seemed like he was all over the place. So was Ryan Kerrigan. Like they were, every time you looked up, you saw one of those guys getting off the pile or chasing the play down. With, you know what I mean? Like you did. I'll be honest with you. You're absolutely right. I think they're different kinds of defensive players than Myles. Not taking any credit away from what you said or not taking up for Myles either, but I just think they're different. I think Myles is more like an artist, whereas these guys are like football players. Like I just want to kill somebody. I don't think Myles wake up in the morning like I want to kill somebody. I think he wake up in the morning like, you know what? I want blueberry pancakes.
That's not a very flattering statement at all.
Hey, listen, bro. I'm just
that's
saying.
That's not very flattering.
I'm just saying. I don't think he's that. Not to say that he's not a good football player. Not to say that he isn't or doesn't have honestly, to be honest with you, this dude has like all NFL talent. Like he is incredible. I've never heard any announcer or anybody speak about his talent in a way. The one thing that I've always heard, we heard it prior to the draft when we got him, is his want to play football.
Yeah, his motor.
His want to be there.
Yeah.
So, and I think that that's what we complain about often is that we don't see that push, that motor, that just always on type of thing. He's
And
just not
especially
always on.
right, and especially for
Now,
the contract he just signed. You
well,
know,
I'm gonna tell you, and I agree. You'll never hear me argue with that. His contract is phenomenally crazy. So you want this dude to be in the backfield every time. Every time you want to see this guy somewhere near the ball. I'm gonna be honest with you. I said this the other day. I saw him in the backfield a lot today. I saw him just miss a lot today. Now I know just misses the still Bobby Heenan's phrase, close only counts, and horseshoes and hand grenades.
he did not pull out the Bobby Heenan card. Shout out to Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Shout out to the brain.
Also, rest in peace to Road Warrior. Is it Animal that just passed?
Yeah, Animal just
Animal.
passed away.
Yeah.
Joe Laurinaitis, his son used to play for Ohio State.
Right. So
yeah,
shout out to Road Warrior, Animal, one of my favorite tag teams of all time. One of the greatest tag teams in the history of wrestling.
They are easily, if they're not top, like number one, they ain't, listen, trust me, they ain't past 2 or 3.
No, right.
I can't think
who else will
of,
come in the ring and win a match before they intro music even finish playing?
The second person even
before
got
the second verse of the intro music, they already then did they move off the top rope 1, 2, 3 match over,
It was used to be stupid. That used to be stupid. But so yeah, I agree. I don't know that Miles is always on, but I did see him make a lot of plays in the backfield. I did see him force stuff up the field a little bit more. Other than those 2 big plays, other than the sack, actually he was the one who, when I mentioned about McLaren having that touchdown, he was part of the pressure that forced that pass to be a little bit off. So
you know what?
He's not been playing awful. He just ain't getting digits right now. So what is he only got 2 sacks now?
He got 2 sacks on the
maybe
season.
3 sacks.
And I'm not even worried about the numbers. I'm not even worried about the numbers. It's just the eye test for me.
This is impressive.
I want to see him being. I just want to see that disruption, and it could be that without having Olivier Vernon on the other side, another pass rusher, he's getting a lot of attention. I get that. But I just want to see. It just seems like that. Haskins had a lot of time today. Like he didn't feel. A couple of times he felt the heat, but he looked comfortable. Most of the game. Now on the positive side, he sucks. So that really helped us out a great deal. Because that would be any other quarterback. If that would have been a competent quarterback back there, we would have lost the game with the type of pressure we got on them today.
So while you said that, let's talk a little bit about Haskins. I don't necessarily think he sucks. He's got awful tendencies, though.
Yeah.
So, and I only say that, I don't want to say he sucks right this second because he's so young. He's only in his second NFL year. So I want to see, can he develop or can he be developed? Because what I saw, I'll be honest, what I saw in the first couple drives, whatever was scripted, that dude was on. He was just like pop, 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 pop. He was on. And they were killing us. Like you said, that offense isn't that good or that great to just move the ball up and down the field the way that they were. But whatever they had scripted for him today, the last game I saw him play, he was kind of all over the place all the entire game. And even though they won that game, this was last season, even though they won that game, I didn't feel like he was any good. Like I literally felt like, man, this dude stinks. How was he
Yeah,
that good at Old State? And he stinks that good.
it was
I didn't
difference.
I
Yeah,
didn't walk away
difference.
from today's game feeling the same way.
Yeah, difference between college and
I just
pros, and I
didn't walk
think
away from today's game.
yeah. Well, the thing with him too, I think he really only had one full season in college, right, as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Right, and a
Yep.
lot of times those guys, when you only have 1 year of high competition football, a lot of times it takes them a while to develop once they get to the NFL. Now, really,
Yeah.
Haskins probably should have been in a situation where he could sit behind a veteran, maybe for 1 or
He
2
should have
years,
been.
and learn and get some
He should have
seasoning.
been. Just like
You
Cardell.
know,
He was
right?
the
Same
same
thing with
way.
Cardell Jones.
The guy who needed to just sit and learn and figure out how to play. And I don't mean sit behind a Tyrod Taylor, which nothing wrong with Tyrod. I don't dislike Tyrod at all. I mean, you need to sit behind a established quarterback that's already done this so that there's no question in your mind, I'm better than the dude that's on the field.
Right. Right.
That's all.
Because Haskins' main problem, he doesn't know how to look off his receivers. So almost all his turnovers came, he was staring down, his
He
receivers.
was like this.
And
Look,
our
he was like
defenders
this.
were jumping on it. Right.
Can't do it. This ain't
Exactly.
darts, homie. Look, this ain't darts, homie.
Exactly.
You can't just look at the target and then throw it and think nothing bad is gonna happen.
Right.
So I'm with you. Let's talk about the positives.
My first positive.
I had a bunch of positives. I actually had a bunch of positives. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, bro.
Oh, you good. Go ahead.
I had a bunch of positives actually. First of all, our offensive line is really good. Can I start there? The offensive line was. I was just watching, even on the plays that Baker bailed on, it had nothing to do with his time. And this is a good defensive line. Like it didn't always end up being, you know how everybody used to say, oh, Baker's running for his life. He wasn't running for his life today. He may have gotten pressured. He may have gotten, somebody who came around him and swatted at him. But he was not getting touched up. And
no, they got 2 sacks today?
They got 2 sacks. There were no turnovers, so he wasn't like forced into anything.
No, and the rookie had a bit of a tough day today. Wills, he had a couple of penalties. He had a couple of blown up assignments, but he's a rookie, and you playing left tackle, especially against Montez Sweat, so that's gonna happen.
And I was just getting ready to say he playing against one of the better D ends in the league. I'm not tripping on that. I'm not gonna say I'm not tripping on that. I'm just gonna say that should be a learning.
It's going, man. Something like that is going to happen, but nothing he did resulted in anything.
For him.
Nothing.
I think Jedrick gonna be okay. I think he's gonna be all right.
And nothing he did wrong today ended up being like a catastrophe. He didn't give up a strip sack or anything like that. He had a couple of mistakes, but that's going to come, with experience.
But to be able to get that push, for the running game to really get off against that front four is I got it. My hat's off. I got to take my hats off to the O-line.
And
Carl
I think,
Joseph had,
and on top of that, I think you should give Stefanski a kudos because he stuck to the game plan because the running game really wasn't jumping off.
It wasn't working early.
It wasn't really working early, and he stuck with it. And we kind of grinded it out, and eventually opened up some big holes and got some big plays today.
I agree with that. I can't argue with that at all. I was actually wondering. Like at first, I was wondering why he was going with Hunt so much, and I think he felt like maybe they think that because, Chubb's in the game, that's going to change how I do this game plan.
Right.
So I'm gonna move this guy out and I'll bring in, Hunt and see if Hunt can get off a little bit. So, I mean, again, I like the fact that regardless of who was in, he was still committed to the run. And that's something that we've seen in the past. We've seen guys get 8-9 yards to carry, and that'd be the last time they touch the ball.
Right. You
know,
You don't see them no more for the game. Right.
So I'm happy. I have to tip my cap to that. I thought it was a solid game plan from Stefanski, and the fact that he stuck with it. And we went down early. We went down early in the third quarter too. Like we didn't just like walk away with this game. We were losing for a minute in the third quarter after we had been up for a while, and to see the team come back and keep playing, that bodes well for the morale of the team.
Right, and that's one of my positives as well too, because normally in that situation, when the Browns have a big lead and give it up, they just automatically collapse. But we have poised, stuck to the run, hit a couple of big third down passes, huge third down passes, and then focused back on the run and went back and took the lead, and that was the ball game. So I definitely want to give the Browns credit for that, and also capitalizing off the turnovers today. When the offense was kind of sputtering, defense wasn't really playing all that well, and they made huge turnovers to put us in a position to score. And normally, like we talked about before in the past, we would never capitalize off turnovers. Either we get a field goal, miss field goal, turn the ball back over.
Yeah. We'll get a turnover, go 3 and out, turn the ball back over, something dumb, something goofy.
Anything
so for us to actually get what we could get out of it, because I'll be honest with you, without those 5 turnovers, we might have lost today.
I think we would have.
So,
because we weren't, but you know what though? Football team, especially when you're trying to grow as a football team and reach that next level, you have to win games like that. I remember watching the Patriots even over the years, even through their dynasty, they didn't always play lights out. They had a lot of games where they struggled, had to grind it out, but they find a way to pull a game out when you're not playing well, and that's the mark of a good team. Like, can you win a game when you're not at your best?
Because the Steelers do that, the Ravens do that. I remember watching a AFC Championship game. I think the score was like 13-10.
Right.
Like, it was just we just gonna grind this, or 13-9. That's what it was. It's just gonna be a grind out. Each team is actually in the game. Each team is right here when it matters because the game is so close. And then that one touchdown was the difference in the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was. I appreciate all of that stuff. Carl Joseph had a huge first half, and I think overall, if I had to give a game ball, it would be between him and Sheldon Richardson, because Sheldon Richardson played awesome today. And I don't know if it's because
showing up this season.
I don't know if it's because these guys are from Minnesota, which is where he kind of had some of his bigger years, all his bigger years. But I mean, this dude's all over the place all of a sudden.
Yeah.
He wasn't that way last year.
That's what we brought him here for, is to be that disruptor in the middle.
Listen, I ain't mad. I ain't mad at all. I'm happy to see Big Shell out there doing his thing, but that's actually helping everybody else on that defensive line. To see Sheldon getting that push, and to see, like you say, without Olivier Vernon on the other side, to potentially be that. I know you got issues with Olivier, but sometimes your who you are precedes you. So he's known as a pass rusher, so they might pay more attention with him on the field. Now you got him, Olivier, and you have Miles all pushing up the field, or potentially pushing up the field. Who knows how that's going to work out for us in the future?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, listen. Overall, I was happy with the game. We put some stuff together. I always look at the scripted plays, and then I want to see, once we get past the scripted plays and the game becomes the game, what we choose to do. And I think Stefanski is attempting to build a real identity for who we are. And I think that's the running game. If you think for 2 seconds that we want to be a throw 47 times a game type of team, we're not going to win a whole lot of games, man.
No.
We're not.
No, there will come a time. Now there are going to be times when we have to. You may just get behind a lot. You got to
It's
football.
gonna be time.
It will be times when that happens, but I think our identity should be a physical football team. But we need to get more physical on the defensive side. Offensively, we're very physical. Defensively, I see cornerbacks playing 15 yards off the line of scrimmage, which I hate. And I know we don't have our starters out there. I know that we're decimated by injuries. But get up on them. Disrupt all that. Disrupt
Our
their
starters.
time.
But you know what? Our starters, and I took a tally, bro. So I said turnovers in my keys to the game, whether we turn the ball over or whether we force turnovers. But I was very specific with the defense. Like I thought that the defense needed to start doing, like you say, I don't want y'all to play soft. I want you guys to be more aggressive. So go get these balls. Go make that catch. Swat that ball. Make that strip. Like, you know what I mean? I wanted to see those things. So I made a tally of forced turnovers and almost turnovers. So we had 5 actual forced turnovers and 3 almost turnovers. Now, you might say, oh, that's good. Well, here's why I bring this up in this particular talk that we're having. We didn't have all of our best guys because the defensive backs are kind of decimated right now with, Greedy Williams being out.
Kevin Johnson played today.
I have no idea why. Kevin Johnson played a lot today, actually. And here's where I'm going with that. I'm glad you brought that up, too. Your boy ain't looking great right now. My man had an interception in his hands. It was right there. Caught it and got it knocked out his hands by the tight end. Like, dude just came and hit him and he just dropped it. Listen, bro, and he got beat twice on coverages. Ward, Denzel. He looked awful today. To me, Denzel was at the top of my negatives.
Okay.
He started playing because, to me, Johnson should have started, if you ask me, but he didn't. He came in for Denzel. Denzel was on the bench. The coach kind of like, yeah, man, just stay over here for a minute.
Well, they
Denzel was healthy as hell, standing over there with it. Listen, I would say that too. Look, Chase Young had a groin injury, went into the locker room and came out with a T-shirt on.
Right.
You got a groin injury, you still got your helmet on? Come on, man. Come on, man. I ain't buying it.
You think it was a bench? Because he had a great game last week. He had one of his better games to Brown last week.
He had a good game.
And that's what we had touched on too last week, was that we just need to see that consistency. And see
there we
go.
On
something, and we're not consistent from week to week.
That's where I was getting ready to go. Like, to me, I think it's a consistency thing. I don't think it's like a punishment per se. I don't think they want to go away from him, and neither do I. I don't want to throw the dude away. Kind of like I was talking about Greedy. I didn't say throw Greedy away, but I was kind of like, man, you got to show me something. I don't have that same feeling about Denzel. However, today he was kind of getting torched. Like he was on dude. What's his name? Inman.
Yeah.
He was on him on both touchdowns. And I mean, he just ran a regular. No, he wasn't on the first one. The first one was someone else. It wasn't him. But you can't allow, and that's just defensive back wise. I don't know what the hell they doing back in that defensive backfield, bro.
It's the scheme, man. They're playing soft. They're giving the receivers a free release off the line, and you can't give a receiver a free release that close to the end zone. Because all he did was cut. He did a slant.
But listen, if you give that, and you know your safety is going that way, if I'm the slot guy, and I know my safety is going that way, I'm going to play you to go that way.
Well, the problem
I'm not going to give you the
problem is, too, we don't have any safeties. I mean, they're out there. They're out there.
Carl Joseph played pretty good today. Carl Joseph played good
but
today.
Sendejo didn't.
I don't know that Sendejo has ever played good.
That's what I'm saying. Like on the one
So,
touchdown where
so
when Denzel got beat on the inside, because it gave him a free release, and Sendejo came late over the top, and it was too easy.
look, I don't know what the hell sometimes, and I know I ain't in the NFL, and I know people can say
Right.
easily, bro, you don't play. Listen, I don't play. And there's a reason that I don't play. First of all, I'm 46. So even if I had played, I wouldn't be playing right now. But we've all played and we've all watched a lot of football, and we've covered a lot of football in our own situations. It's certain stuff that you just know. Like if you just stick to the basics, bro. What the hell was Sendejo doing? What was he looking at? What was he thinking about, bro? In that particular situation, you got to cover that over the top in the middle. And he just waited, which gave dude the room to get in there. And then guess what? Here he come with the late hit to try to separate the ball, but he already in the end zone, homie.
Exactly.
It was too late at that point.
So, as far as game balls, I'm gonna give my game balls to Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is a monster, absolute beast. Also gonna give a game ball to, all about business. I'm gonna give a game ball to B.J. Goodson, one of the no-name linebackers. He actually had a very, very good game. Really good, man. And he made plays when it counted. Like in the fourth quarter, the third and fourth quarter, he came up with some huge plays that we needed. And that's all you want sometimes when you're struggling. Somebody make a play. So
look, that pick he got was huge. That pick he got was huge. And he played it perfectly.
Exactly.
He played it perfectly.
In my third game ball, I'm going to give it to Carl Joseph. So I got Nick Chubb, B.J. Goodson, and Carl Joseph, which is ironic because as much as we just bashed our defense, two of my game balls are going to defensive guys.
But defense, homie.
Hey, but they made plays today when they had to, force a lot of turnovers. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due.
You have to. And like I said, I'm going to give mine to Carl Joseph, Sheldon Richardson, and I'm also give it to Nick Chubb as well. I think Nick is a very underrated talent in this league. I heard the announcer say he's the best running back nobody's ever heard of. I don't know who's never heard of Nick Chubb.
Yeah,
if you haven't, it's only a matter of time.
Because it's
only a matter of time. He getting ready.
Because if it wasn't for Freddie Kitchens' dumbass last year, he would have led the league in rushing. And all of a sudden, he decided to stop running them the last 3 games of the season for whatever reason. So, but you know what? And I'm sorry. I didn't mean. I see the look in your eye. I see that pain look on your face when I brought up Freddie Kitchens. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean to do that. I know it hurts. Because last year actually hurt more than the 0-16 season. It did. Look, last year hurt more.
Actually, I think it might have. It might have.
The 0-16 season, I was numb. I was good. I had emotionally.
Especially after Cody Parkey booted that junk in Miami, I knew at that point, I said, yeah, we're going to 16. Like, yeah, we're going to do it.
Exactly. Man, and think about this, man. We out there with Cody Kessler and Deshaun. I was like, my God, Deshaun Kaiser. Who else do we have out there? Was McCown still with us then, too?
McCown started the season and got hurt. Remember, he tried to dive for a touchdown early in the first game of the season.
Yeah,
and he got a concussion and was like out for like.
He was done.
That's how Deshaun Kaiser ended up as the quarterback.
Yeah, I remember that. And we just had a cadre of worthless quarterbacks come through.
And we had a cadre of worthless players. And then even no matter how good you are, when it's all crumbling around you, ain't that much.
And you're right. You're absolutely right.
It's just not that much you can do, man. And it sucks, but don't ever. You told me last week, don't bring up
Hugh Jackson. Right. Yeah, please don't.
Don't bring up Freddie Kitchens and the abomination that is Freddie Kitchens.
You'll never hear the word Freddie Kitchens come out of my mouth again.
Look, so on the next show, I'm probably gonna bring up Freddie Kitchens.
Right. Exactly. All right, man. So my overall grade for the day, I give them a B minus. I'm happy with the win. Next week we have the Dallas Cowgirls, America's Bandwagon,
Yep.
down in Jerry's World. Big game, big game. So we can finally, this is a true litmus test to see where we are. Even though Dallas underachieves a lot, they got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. And it's definitely going to be a big test for us. So I'm really looking forward to this game.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you pointed at us in that way, which is why I don't call you just a co-host. You actually are the host along with me, because you can lead this show the way it needs to go.
I'm just saying we're both co-hosts. It's two hosts, so we're both co-hosting the show. You know what I'm saying? Not to put either one of us above the other or one below the other.
Right.
No, we're both co-hosting the show.
So here we are on our way to Jerry World. For some reason, I'm just not afraid of the Cowboys. Now, I know we can go down there and get it handed to us. Our defense is awful. Zeke Elliott is Zeke Elliott. So I expect for Zeke to probably run, because McKissick was running kind of crazy today at certain points in the game.
Yeah, he had
I'm expecting
a nice couple of runs.
Yeah, Zeke could probably have a pretty solid game against us. I'm not a big Dak Prescott guy. I don't really see why the hoopla is with him.
Exactly. He hasn't won anything.
However, we'll address that in our midweek show to figure out, what we think is going to happen in that game. I think that as we moved out of this game, I would probably give what we did today a solid B, like a solid B, a real solid. Like, what is a B anymore? Like a 80.
I don't know, man. They all these weird grading scales now in school. We were in school, it was between an 80 and 90. No, between an 80 and 89.
So I think if I'm gonna give you a solid B, not a B minus, not a B plus. If I'm gonna give you a solid B, I think it was probably like an 86 or 80 or 87. I think if you got an 88, that was a B plus.
Right.
So I'm gonna give them an 86, 87. I think they did good today. There were some flaws and some holes. Like I said, I don't know if we won, or if we had gotten less than those 5 turnovers, I don't know what we would have done. But I am happy that they utilized the turnovers and 4 of those 5 turnovers to turn into points. So that's promising. I'll give them a solid B. I'll give Baker probably a B minus. I give Stefanski. I know a bank owner, a bank president. His name was Stefanski. I'll give Stefanski I give him a solid B too. I think he did pretty good today. And again, like you said, I've been watching it since you said it. Dude is kind of even keeled. He never loses it. He never looks like he's below that. Always keeps it here. And I think that's good. I think that'll be good going forward.
And I think because he didn't panic, especially when the Browns got down, the team didn't panic. We took the ball, went right down the field, took the lead, and we didn't look back from there. I thought that was a very impressive drive.
But you know what? Saying that, you know what? And that actual specific changes his B to a B plus, man. Because you're right. When we were down, I was sitting there. I wasn't saying nothing. I wasn't on Facebook. I was just sitting there, and I said, let me see what these dudes do now. Now we're losing. Let's see how they come out and play. And actually, the defense played better in the second half, the later stages of the second half, than they did at any point in the game.
I agree.
So I know he's not in charge of the defense. However, we didn't see many bad plays from the quarterback. We didn't see many bad plays from the O-line. We saw great running from Nick. We saw tough running from Hunt. The game plan, the adjustments, or the expectations of what was happening in the game and then calling a play based on where we were. I think you did a really good job, man. And I hope that this is starting to build into something because, like, we've already discussed how kind of bad the defense is. If the offense is already good and we ain't got to go out looking for something else, that just means we know where to hit in the draft.
Right. I agree. All right,
We can
man.
go
So
get those players and we can go snatch, those guys and get us where we need to go. So that's Brown Sunday. Well, let's switch hats a little bit, man. So let's switch hats. Let's talk about them Indians, man.
all right. The
Uh,
Indians, we were on a roll until yesterday, but at this point, it really doesn't matter at this point. I guess
well, it
just the
does, but it
playoff
doesn't.
position. Right.
Yeah, like we basically losing yesterday put us in jeopardy of potentially being as far down as seventh in the seeding,
Okay.
which would basically mean we don't have a home field advantage at all. We'll be on the road
Yeah,
starting out
because
every series basically.
the way that the system is set up for that first round, I think they're all at the home team's stadium. So it's a 3-game series, and
Yep.
whoever's the higher seed gets all 3 games. But I don't think at this point in time, with it being no fans, the only thing that plays a part in who gets last at bat. Other than that, I don't think it puts either team at an advantage or a
That's true.
disadvantage
I give
right
you
now.
that. I
So,
give you that. I
um,
think, yeah.
so I don't know if there's a whole lot to say. The Indians have been on a roll. Had one of the worst losing streaks ever in the modern history of the Indians, losing those 8 straight. And I thought we were going to do a tailspin, but Sandy got them back together. Shout out to Sandy Alomar, who's taking Terry Francona's place. Terry, get well soon. We need you back out there, but need you to get better first. I think Sandy has done a great job pulling that team together
Sandy's been on.
and pushing the right buttons because the team still can't hit at all. But we got one of the best pitching staffs in the American League. And during this last little run that we've had timely hitting, especially from Jose Ramirez. He's pretty much put the team on his back. And
Yep.
he's been carrying us, going into the playoffs. So I guess by the end of today, I
We'll
guess
be
we'll
able to
know who
figure
we're
out where
playing in
we
the
are.
playoffs. The last time I checked, we were tied 2-2 with the Pirates. And that was kind of like back in the 5th inning. But I need to check the scores and see, where we are. So I think by the end of the day, we'll know who we're playing in the playoffs in
Yep.
the first wild card round.
So early in the season, when the season, I know it was a kind of a shortened season due to the COVID and whatnot. I said early on, everybody was going in on the offense, going in. I said, hey, listen, if I don't know nothing else, I agree with what you're saying that they don't necessarily have consistent hitting because you'll have a game today where they hit everything. But then you'll have 2 games where they don't even know what a baseball looks like in terms of hitting. But I said to everybody, I said, just relax. I think they're going to make the adjustments. One of the things that I know or that I've seen over this isn't like the mid 2000 Indians where they can't figure it out. I think they're well managed. I think they actually are well coached. So to have a guy, the first base coach, like Sandy Alomar, who can go from that to
Take over as
basically
manager.
managing the squad.
Right.
I think mentally these guys are okay because they got the right folks above them that keeps them motivated and keeps them aware of what's going on. The problem is, like you say, you just don't have that stick in the lineup that everybody's afraid of from the first inning to the 9th inning, or
And we
however many
could
times this
have
guy's
that, but those guys are just inconsistent. Like Framil Reyes is our power guy. He's
yeah,
inconsistent.
yeah. Yep.
Frankie's been inconsistent.
Frankie, for the
San,
first time in his career, he's been inconsistent as heck.
right. He's even inconsistent on the base pass too. Like his mind isn't all the way there. I don't know if it's because of the whole contract thing kind of has him
I don't
distracted
know either. I was thinking
or
that too
what.
when I
He's
watched
not.
the game today.
He doesn't have the same, like look in his eye right now that he normally has. Santana's
He
not hitting
can,
worth anything. Now I know Santana's normally a later in the season guy, comes on later in the season, but he's been off all year. So we have guys that can be that. They just haven't lived up to it this season. Just thank God for our pitching staff, man. If it wasn't for them,
the
we
pitching
wouldn't be
staff.
anywhere near the playoffs.
The pitching staff it's so crazy, and you know this as well as I do. We've always had either a bunch of offense and the pitching staff stinks or is not so good, or we've had a great pitching staff and no stinks. Like we never really, as a team, have found a complete balance of all of those things. To
Right.
me, I think we're as close to that. The problem is, again, we still don't have that one just consistent stick in the lineup. And I probably have advocated for that for the last 20 years or so with the
Yeah,
Indians.
exactly. You want a professional hitter in
Just
the
give
middle
me
of
a
that
guy.
lineup.
Just give me a guy. I remember at one point, Vladimir Guerrero was available, and I was like, so y'all don't want Vladimir Guerrero? This
Right.
dude can hit home runs just slapping a ball. He also always hits for average.
Right.
But they never went and got him.
Now, last year we went on and got Puig, and I thought we should have brought Puig back.
Thought we should have brought Puig
But
back. Sure.
I guess, hearing some stuff, though, that Puig wasn't a great locker room guy. He's kind of a wild card, kind of out there a little bit. He was bumping heads with Francona a little bit, and that's why they didn't bring him back.
He always has been a wild card guy. And I will at least give the Indians the credit for going out to at least research that.
Right.
To get him in the first place. However, there's always the thing about this, Sean. He was bumping heads with Francona, and Francona was like, nah, B, I can't have him in the building. Where's Francona at right this second? He ain't even managing.
Yeah, but they didn't know that, though.
But I'm just saying, bro, you make every decision based on what sometimes you got to get over yourself. Especially when you understand that I'm trying to win or I would like to win. The thing about baseball that bothers me more than any other sport is that baseball is the only sport that feels like you can only win like this. And if you don't listen to this, then you're not an all-time great, or you're not you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I hate that about baseball. Yeah,
baseball has a lot of unwritten rules. Quite frankly, a lot of them are antiquated. And kind of, especially too, the game has gotten kind of stale. So if you want to attract the young people to watch, you got to let these guys be themselves. Have some person that, is it so bad a guy does a bat flip after hitting a home run? Is it so bad a guy watches it, shows a little personality, a little spunk, a little fire? And baseball always poo-poos that. Well, that's not classy. That's not the way we play the game. Yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, they're still doing well. I guess, attendance-wise at the ballparks, we're at an all-time high, before COVID hit. But you don't have that. You're going to need to attract a younger viewer at some point. Because, like, when I was teaching, like, all my students, man, they're in the NBA. That's why the NFL is not careful either. At some point, the NBA might overtake the NFL in popularity. Like, these young kids gravitate not necessarily towards the team. They like players. They like the superstar players.
They like players.
You got the shoes, they play for the shoe contracts. They're more visible. Football players have on a helmet, so you can't really harder to identify with certain players, but basketball players are more visible, more on social media. And especially going with the social justice things that they're doing now, letting players express themselves, was very attractive to the younger generation. So both, baseball especially need to start doing a little bit more outreach. Don't be gimmicky with the game. You can still keep the same core principles with the game, but just spice it up, jazz it up a little bit, market your players. They do a horrible job of marketing their players.
I don't think they know how.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say
Yeah.
again, if your angle is here's how baseball is supposed to be played inside of this box, it's hard to get that guy that's judging the box to judge the players, because he wants that player to fit in a box. He don't want the player to be as big personality-wise as a Puig.
Right.
You don't want the guy just popping off and talking. And we know Tito Francona, that is. We call Terry Francona Tito. Anybody who's been around him, they call him Tito. Tito is old school. But you can't tell me that Big Papi wasn't like Puig at some point.
Oh, of course.
You can't tell me that. Big Papi was, why do they call him Big Papi, folks?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Now, did anybody
But
pick up Puig? I don't think anybody picked him up, did they?
I feel like I heard he got picked up, but it wasn't like for a long term like type of situation. Because nobody wants the headache per se. However, all the teams that didn't make the playoffs or that came close to not making the playoffs, you can't tell me that a guy like Puig could not have helped you out. It's the same argument that people would have about Carmelo Anthony. Say whatever the hell you want to, but this dude can give you 25 points a night if you're awful.
Right.
So he can add to what you're trying to do. And if you're a team like Portland, if you can figure out how to manage what he can do for you and what Lillard can do for you, honestly, in terms of scoring, there ain't many teams that can score like these guys.
Right. And I think that's a good.
And it's about. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's a good segue. So we need to talk about the NBA playoffs a little bit. We can discuss the Indians a little bit more during our midweek show once we figure out who they're playing in the playoffs, and once that gets rolling. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's a perfect segue, into the NBA.
Because I was just talking about the NBA too. So Brown is in his 10th final, bro. I picked that series against the Nuggets. I said that it would be a 4-2 series.
Okay.
It wasn't necessarily like a knock on the Lakers, because I thought the Lakers were playing at that time phenomenally. The problem was that so were the Nuggets. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of trying to say, let's just give the Nuggets an extra game. Maybe they'll squeeze another game out. And honestly, I think I only missed one game. Pretty much the Nuggets had an opportunity to win at least another game. Like they were right there, and they could have won that second game. So they lost 4-1, but they could have won that second game, like I said. However, I knew that they weren't going to win that series. There was no way they were going to win that series. The Lakers are they're too good. And
they got LeBron
too good right now. And they got LeBron. So when you have LeBron with guys around him that can shoot, that can move the ball, and that are IQ-wise at least semi-smart, that's a tough setup. You're probably not going to win that much.
And then what I noticed yesterday too, I've been watching the series like off and on, especially under this football season. Sometimes the game is on during the football game. I'll watch the football over.
I'm watching football.
But what I noticed yesterday is that LeBron has guys playing specific roles how they're supposed to. Like Dwight Howard was actually being more physical yesterday than I've ever seen him in his years, even when he was, the face of the league for a while, or one of the faces of the league when he was with Orlando. He was always, big, but he never used, to me, his strengths to his advantage all the time.
A part of that is because now he don't have to be the face of the team. He don't have to, if you lose his double-double, whatever he was going to give you, when he was in Orlando, yeah, that changes everything. Now he's like literally this dude is like the Birdman.
Yeah, he's kind of
Who
like an
cares if he
enforcer.
ain't?
He was throwing elbows. He was kind of playing like a little
Yeah,
bit dirty.
listen, man.
Not dirty to the point where he's doing
He
flagrant
was
fouls, but he
playing.
was,
Look,
hip checking and throwing a couple of
he
elbows
was
here and
playing
there. Like,
dirty for
okay.
this. He was playing dirty for this league now.
Right.
That wasn't even close to dirty from where we grew up at. This was just regular. Like, oh, he threw an elbow. Referee, please call a foul or whatever.
Right.
But he did his job, and that's actually what LeBron has around him. It's a bunch of guys that know what their roles are. He has a bunch of guys around him that understand that, like, they've bought into the concept of just getting us there, and I can get y'all the championship, so to speak.
Exactly.
I mean, guys like Caruso, you play huge. Caruso played huge.
Rondo's playing very well.
Listen, Rondo has been playing like he's never played before, and he's played good over his whole career. But he's playing even. What's the word? It's better. I want to say better, but I want to say something.
He's just playing like the savvy veteran. He's kind of like playing. You know what? He's playing that Ron Harper role that Ron Harper had when he played with the Bulls and the Lakers those years. Doesn't have to do a whole lot.
Perfect. That's a perfect example of what Rondo is doing. He's where he needs to be. He's when he needs to be. He's on time for the meetings or whatever. He's just being a leader. You know what I mean? He's not doing too much, and he damn sure ain't doing too little. He's knocking down wide open shots, and we know the Rondo that we've seen when he was in Boston.
He was in Boston. He couldn't hit the side of a barn when he was in.
He was missing. Yeah. That dude could throw a damn ball in the ocean and miss. He just wasn't consistent with his shot. Now he's knocking down that jump shot, and he has the confidence to pull it off. So when you got guys around you that understand their roles, they're not trying to overstep their roles. They're not trying to be the guy. It's definitely going to help LeBron be wherever he needs to be. So my hat's off to LeBron, to the Lakers. You guys have made it to the finals. Now you just got to finish the job. On the other side of that bracket, we still have on the short side 1 more game, but on the long side 2 more games.
Right.
Miami and the Celtics. Can Miami finish these guys off tonight?
It's been such a strange series, man. It's so hard to predict. You don't know which Celtic team is going to show up today. Talent-wise, on paper, Boston should go ahead and win this thing. But Jimmy Butler has Miami playing at a level, and it's not. And and I know it's like Butler's not even scoring a lot. He's not out here getting 30 points a night.
Nope.
He may get 15,
like
16.
15 and 8. 15 and 8.
Right, but he has these guys playing with so much confidence. He got Tyler Hero balling. Who else is out there? Bam Adebayo's playing out of his mind. He's playing his role.
Bam playing crazy.
Right.
What's the other young kid? I can't think. Listen, I'm awful with names.
I know you're talking about. Me
Robinson.
too.
Duncan Robinson. That's his name. I mean, you got these guys playing. Why do I know Duncan Robinson's name? Why do I know Tyler Hero's name? It's because these guys are stepping up and knocking down big, timely shots in huge moments of important basketball games. And like you say, Jimmy Butler is just being a leader. And he's being like this, y'all got to play harder type of guy.
Right. And I owe Jimmy Butler an apology. I didn't think he had that type of leadership in him, man. I thought he was kind of more like of a malcontent, more like of a me guy, especially when he was in Minnesota. But now after watching how Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns were playing, now, and I look back on it, I see why he was acting the way he was acting, because they weren't stepping up. They were playing pretty much just playing soft. They weren't stepping up to play all that talent. There was no reason for those Minnesota teams not to have been contenders back then. So I get why he was, being that way.
Prima donnas, like I said,
Right.
those guys are like prima donnas, like.
Yeah, same thing in Philly. I said Philly will never win because Embiid, as great as Embiid is, he's a prima donna. And Ben Simmons thinks that he's arrived already. That you're a 6'10" point guard. You got great defensive skills, ball handling, passing, but you haven't tried to improve your game.
And you haven't led a team nowhere, bro.
Yeah, you're a liability right now because you don't even have a mid-range jump shot, let alone a jump shot. You can't even hit a 10-footer. So I think Jimmy was, kind of like, man, I don't want to be here either because these guys ain't, they're not serious. And then he takes a Miami team. When he went there, I said, man, he's going there for the cash out. Because there's no way in the world he's going to be able to get that team anywhere.
I thought that was a weird fit, man. I was like, what? Right. He's going to Miami. Oh, he's just trying to get a check. Okay.
Yeah, so Jimmy Butler, if you listen to this podcast, I owe you an apology, my man. You've shown me that you are indeed a great leader to get that cast of misfits, to one game from the NBA Finals. So if I had to make a prediction for tonight's game, I think I'm gonna go with Boston, man. I think Boston is gonna step up today and take it to a game 7. I think the way this series has been playing out, I think it's only fitting that it goes to a game 7. And I want Boston to win. I want Boston because I'd rather see an LA-Boston matchup than an LA-Miami matchup.
Well, the LA-Boston matchup is always sexier for the NBA. That definitely is the sexy NBA thing. It's happened a multitude of times over the course of history.
Right.
For me, I truly think that Miami's they're gonna finish this thing tonight.
Okay.
I feel it. I believe that I know that they can, and it's just a matter of getting it done. Like
what time is the game now? Is it 8:30?
It's 6:30. I think it's at 7.
7. Okay, so I'll flip back between that game. What's the Sunday night game today? Is New Orleans and Green Bay?
Yep.
Okay, so I can watch Drew Brees in his wheelchair roll up and down the field. So
Aaron Rodgers and his hover round.
Right.
Look, even though Aaron Rodgers ain't old, I mean, he plays kind of old anymore. Like, and I blame that on Green Bay's front office, but that's a whole nother
story.
I can go on for that. But yeah, I think Miami's gonna win tonight. I think they need to finish if they mess around and get a game 7, man, that's what happened to Denver. They were too spent to try to compete.
Yeah.
Every single solitary game. I mean, especially when you're playing every other day. You play every other day. That's a lot. And it does wear on you. And LeBron is, in general, and probably some of the best shape that you've ever seen. So when you get this dude 5 games, and now he's sitting back like this with his feet up, you ain't helping yourself. You ain't helping yourself at all.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
If you want to win a championship, if you really want to win a championship, and if you really want your team to compete in the championship, you got to get rid of these guys today. Now, I'd say the exact same thing if the Celtics were in this spot 3-2. Celtics, you got to get rid of these guys so you can have a day or two to just, okay.
Right, exhale a little bit.
If you guys go into this, if you go into this game 7, it just prolongs. In a nutshell, I think it just kind of prolongs your not winning a championship. That's what I think.
No, I get where you're coming
from. This thing, get this thing, get the hell out of there.
Yeah, that's the last point I wanted to make about that is I just think not in Miami, but at Boston, LA finals. I mean, there's so many interesting matchups because like Boston is pretty much almost a positionless team as far as how they play. Like, what is Tatum and Brown? Are they guards? Are they forwards? They kind of play like a hybrid.
They do a little bit of everything.
Marcus Smart is like a forward, 2-guard type. Kemba is a true point guard, a scoring point guard, but he plays a point. And then against LA, LA has, LeBron playing point forward, AD, it's kind of like that hybrid power forward. So I think it just makes an interesting matchup to see how teams would, are going to adjust against each other. And that's why I want to see that Boston,
Well,
LA.
I think Miami has the best chance of beating LA. I don't think that Boston can beat LA. I think Miami is tougher in the mind, and they're more physical. So, like a guy like Bam Adebayo, he's not just a bruiser like, say, Dwight Howard is. He's going to come in the game. He's going to beat you up on the inside, but he's also going to give you 15 points.
Yeah, I agree with you on that point. I agree.
So it does change how I view things. Like, I want a competitive final. I don't want to see another 4-1 final. And that doesn't mean that the Lakers won't win 4-1, because at this point I think the Lakers are going to win. But
yeah.
I don't that doesn't mean that you won't see a 4-1. However, I think there's less of a chance of a 4-1 with Miami because they're well coached. I think these other kids, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, all those other guys, I don't know what they're made of, but these dudes just show up. But let's see if they can show up when it really, really counts.
Yeah, and that's why, I gave Boston, giving them the edge because of the experience factor. Tatum and Brown, they both been deep into the playoffs on several occasions, so they know kind of what it takes. The Miami guys, outside of Jimmy Butler, never really been in this position, still really young. So let's see how they handle the pressure tonight, man. It's going to be a very, very good game. I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, listen, man, we're going to go ahead and wrap the show. Again, I don't know if we expressed this enough, but the Browns win. The Browns win. The Browns win. And being 2-1 is better than being 1-2, and it's damn sure better than being 0-3. So I appreciate, regardless of the negatives, I appreciate everything that those guys did.
A win is a win at the end of the day. A win is a win.
A win, I'll take it however I can get. I got people texting me and Facebooking me like, oh, well, Washington sucks anyway. Listen, had we lost to them, y'all would have been like, how'd you lose to that team? So we win a game and we still stink.
We win a game we're supposed to win. That's all you can ask for right now.
And that's all you can do. We win. Whoever set this schedule up, we won what we should have won. We shouldn't have won the first game, per se. I didn't expect to win the first game. I would have loved to have won that game. But it's okay. And now we're on next week to the Cow Bitches. And we'll see how how that plays out down in AT&T, and the big stripper pole stadium that is AT&T Stadium.
Jerry World. All right, my brother. Well, you have a good rest of your night.
Hey, man, you too, bro.
Thank you guys for tuning in. What'd you say?
I said, love you, dog.
I love you too, man. So you have a good one, and look out for our midweek podcast. Not sure if we're going to do it, Tuesday or Wednesday. We're going to play it by ear.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
You guys be on the lookout for that.
Stay ready. Stay tuned, and we will put that out there for you guys so that you guys can enjoy that as well. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for having us. Thank you for allowing us to be ourselves, because that's our goal from top to bottom. And we'll see you guys in the middle of the week. Thank you. Appreciate you. Peace.